Danny Murphy in our midst, of course, as he is every Wednesday morning. Some would say Danny Murphy, the pundit. Danny Murphy going from here to the Match of the Day studio tonight because a big round of Premier League matches. Danny Murphy, the pundit. But he's more than just a pundit, is he not? Having said that, how influential and consequential is the voice of the pundit in today's sporting media? The reason I ask that this lunchtime is that during Amorim's I am the manager speech just before he exited stage left, he seemed to suggest that Manchester United had become too sensitive to outside criticism. Amorim said if people cannot handle the Gary Nevilles and the criticism of everything, then we need to change the club. Even in the build-up to Newcastle's match tonight against Leeds United, Eddie Howe spoke about influences outside of the club, even mentioned Sir Rod.
Yeah, I missed Rod, so I didn't see that, which was a shame. The climate for modern day managers is difficult. It is difficult because there's a lot more media and there's a lot more exposure to different opinions. So I think my method is to bunker myself away from it and to ignore it and to make sure my brain and thoughts don't get contaminated by stuff that's absolutely irrelevant to me. It's focusing on the game ultimately and the players. That's what I try to do. So how can I make my players better? How can I have better relationships with them? How can I push them to better performances? How can I help the team? Where do we need to improve? Constant analysis of how we play. That, for me, will change or help change the next result, hopefully, in a positive way. Getting involved in politics and all the other stuff that's around won't help me or the team or the players.
That was Eddie, of course, when he mentioned Sir Rod. Sir Rod, of course, was doing his nut about Wilfred Nancy at Celtic and breathed a huge sigh of relief when he heard the news that Martin O'Neill was going back for another spell in interim charge. But Ruben Amorim was a different set of circumstances, Simon, was he not, Danny? And the man, in his goodbye speech, he seemed to suggest that if people can't handle the Gary Nevilles and the criticism of everything, in other words,
hierarchy he's talking about.
Pundits and how they can sway a boardroom. I mean, can they? Can they?
Well, I mean, it seems that he's suggesting it can. Great listening to Eddie there. That's exactly the type of intelligent, articulate man, an answer you'd want from a manager, somebody who's completely focused on his job, comfortable with his own thoughts and views and what he wants. Yeah, I always allude to the best managers I worked under. If it was Houllier, Roy Hodgson, they'll be aware of what's being said, but because they're so bright and forthright with their own views and what they're trying to do, it doesn't really enter their brain. I think it would be naive to think that managers don't know what's being said by ex-players, especially important ones, but it depends how strong you are. If Amorim's getting emotional and frustrated about some of the things that pundits are saying coming back to him through the hierarchy, I think that's fair. Why should they be, the hierarchy of a football club shouldn't be being dictated to by ex-players or ex-pundits. But Eddie's right. The best managers like him, they just crack on.
Yeah.
They don't get too flustered.
Shut yourself off from
But it's an interesting point of view because it depends if what the pundits are saying is right.
Yeah, or fair.
So if the pundits are right, I mean, it's interesting because with all due respect to Eddie Howe, he made a beeline to do an interview with me on Upfront because he listens to this show. And I think he wanted to have his view on certain things, and he wanted to have a conversation with me because he either wanted to correct my thinking or challenge it, right?
And what did he do?
He did a bit of both. And, I asked him how it was like working for Paul Mitchell and questions like that, and he sidestepped those and things of that nature because they were designed to get a reaction from him. But the modern day manager has to accept that the social media world and the digital world now opens up a raft of opinions, and shows like this open up a raft of opinions. Should you be listening? Should you be affected by drivel that's uttered by people that have no substance? Of course not. If Gary Neville says something that's substantive and the boardroom listen to it and think, actually, he's got a bloody good point, then it's about the issues of what you're doing as a manager. If you're doing a good job and the job that you're doing is being unfairly criticised and the boardroom listens to it, then you haven't got much of a boardroom.
I was going to say, do you not have your own mind in the boardroom?
But there should be competent enough people within the hierarchy who are already thinking and on the same lines of people like Gary Neville or Roy Keane, whoever is speaking, because what they're talking about is something bloody obvious. You change your system to what everyone thinks you should have been and start winning some games, then you go back to your old one and start winning.
I think it's quite. I think what it is. I think it's a way of demeaning those that you work for. It's like the Len Shackleton book, isn't it? It's basically what do directors know about football or blank page, and what are the best club owners are the ones you never hear from. It's a way of saying that the criticisms that I take from the board are being fueled by people that are pundits, and why you listen to pundits. Well, if you were doing a good job,
it wouldn't matter.
Then it really wouldn't matter, would it? So really and truly, let's get away from what boardrooms do listen to and what they don't listen to, and how influential pundits are and how influential they're not. And let's see if what they're saying is true, and are your shortcomings there to be challenged. Not silly little, picking at holes just designed to create an argument or to create content. I mean, I think Gary Neville is a very astute observer of football matches.
Yeah,
I don't concur with his views on society. I don't concur with some of his endless assaults on the structure of Manchester United, because I think there's an agenda being served out there. But as far as his observations, I don't think he's a wonderful observer on football club ownership. I don't think he did a marvellous job with Peter Lim's money at Salford. So when he talks about football club ownership, I don't take much notice of it. But when he talks about the structure of a football team and seeing a football team play in front of him, I will most certainly listen to Gary Neville.
Palace, were you ever influenced by anything? I think I know the answer to this. Anything that a pundit ever said or wrote?
Depends if I respected the pundit, and depended on what this pundit had said was fair and right. And actually, you know what? He's got a bloody point.
And did you have that emotion? Can you recall a time that you thought, do you know what? I'm going to phone him up and say, yeah, damn it, you're right.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would not necessarily be just from a pundit. It might be from a circle of influence around me.
I know you enjoyed reading your own column in the Telegraph, wasn't it?
That's where he got his ideas
The Guardian, actually. Thank you very much.
The Guardian.
I was in the Guardian for a time being.
Oh boy!
But no, I think punditry has a place. Good punditry has a place.
Yeah.
And what we've got too much in society of is so many people that aren't experts. When you've got good punditry, you've got intelligent punditry.
Yeah.
You've got people that are calling things for what they are. Then there's nothing wrong with a manager or a person of influence in a football club going, that's a fair point. And if the manager can't cope with it, do a better job. And so you'd have to be observed on.
You'd be if you go and watch. I remember Carragher doing a breakdown on Tottenham's midfield, not playing forward and being too safe on a Monday Night Football, which was great. Did it really well. Agreed with him completely.
Yeah. Is Jamie a different person, incidentally, when he's on CBS with Kate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
totally different.
But his football knowledge is as good as he's the one I put up there in terms of spotting similar things that I think I spot. But the point I'm making, if Thomas Frank didn't know that already, he should be watching it.
Yeah.
He should be.
Yeah.
Because it'll help. I mean, now he should be seeing it himself. Like it's not that difficult.
Sure.
But why would you shut yourself off to that?